holding right now? Yes, it's a key. Nothing unusual about that. It could be the key to a locker, an apartment, or maybe even a bike. Pretty simple, right? Well, this is my locker key, so I make sure I carry it all the time. But let's just say I want more access throughout my day. So I decide to carry more keys with me. I add one more and a couple. All of which serve a purpose, of course. Well, soon enough, I've got a full keychain in my pocket. At first, it feels like power. Whenever I want to unlock something, boom, I've probably got the key. But did you notice what else happened? My pocket just got fuller and heavier. Now, wherever I go, I have to carry that weight with me all day, despite the power that I've just acquired. This is the paradox of freedom. We all long for more voice, more choice, more control. Yet the instant it is in our grasp, we realize something. Freedom never comes empty-handed. It comes with a baggage. Consequence, accountability, and the challenge of carrying it well. I'm here today not to glorify freedom. We're here to understand it fully. To ask a question that usually lies behind slogans and celebrations. If freedom opens so many doors, why does it sometimes feel so heavy to carry? Liberty, in truth, is not just the power to do whatever we want. It is the responsibility to do what is right. And that is where the gap lies. The space between what we can do and what we should do. And it is in that space that character is tested, values are defined, and purpose begins to take shape. There is a curious tension that arises the moment possibilities become endless. Having freedom has always been celebrated as a triumph of autonomy. However, the abundance of choice can quickly become a source of hesitation, anxiety, and doubt. What we don't immediately understand is that the more avenues open before you, the more every decision of yours requires more consideration, and the more your confidence wavers under the weight of the potential outcome. Freedom disperses responsibility into every hand, and in that dispersion lie both the possibility of greatness and the risk of ruin. Even the most powerful, the most significant of countries across history have lost their freedom. They've lost their independence decades after gaining it. And why is that? Because freedom has a weight that we usually overlook. This dilemma has become painfully clear to me in an art class. Yes, you heard me right, in an art class. I mean, what could possibly go wrong in an art class, right? Right? Wrong. Picture this. I'm a freshman, and for the first time, my art teacher decides to hand us an art project. But here's a twist. No themes, no guidelines, no restrictions. Just absolute creative mystery. Usually we get topics like sketch a landscape or paint a skid life. But today, the possibilities are endless. We usually get texts that are simple, strict to the criteria, we follow the rubric exactly, and the results are guaranteed. But this time, I have a wide range of options. And vision this with me. Watercolor, painting, sculpting, textile art, crocheting, and maybe some sort of experimental madness I haven't even thought of. I pace, I stare at the art supplies, and I ask, what am I even gonna choose? Is this gonna be advanced enough? Will it meet the criteria? Wait, what if it's too normal? Or even worse, too weird? I spent hours lying between my options like they're a puzzle trying to trap me. However, after some time with researching, brainstorming, and a little bit of courageous risk-taking, I finally land on an idea. I develop every component and bring it to life. The results, you may ask? They turned out pretty amazing. If you're wondering, I ended up making crochet stuffed animals. But the point is, having freedom in your choices is exhilarating. But it's also daunting. The initial chaos is part of the process, and the uncertainty can definitely be uncomfortable. Yet, if you pause, reflect, and approach the situation intentionally, then you can turn it into something meaningful. The strain of navigating freedom's countless options reveals its first burden. The next is understanding that our choices, no matter how personal, extend far beyond our reach. Freedom never exists in isolation. Every word, every action ripples farther to touch others in ways we cannot immediately notice. When you act, someone else definitely feels the impact. When you speak, someone else gains the right to listen, whether you intend it or not. Every choice of yours has a consequence. It has a lasting mark. And today, we celebrate rights more than ever. The right to choose, to express, to disagree. Yes, even to disagree. All of these are rights, and they matter. But when they're handled with carelessness, without awareness, freedom can turn into the seed of destruction that demolishes the very thing it was meant to protect. So, how do we handle it? How do we carry its weight without letting it crush us? Well, the answer lies in 3 guiding principles. Simple in words, yet powerful in action. ADP. And no, not adenosine diphosphate in biology. ADP, short for awareness, discipline, and purpose. Let's start with the foundation, awareness. Freedom without awareness turns into impulse. It becomes a reaction instead of reflection. Without awareness, we can quickly jump into conclusions, quickly jump into decisions without thinking about it. Awareness is that moment between impulse and action, and it is that breath you take before deciding what type of impact you want to leave behind. After awareness comes discipline, and that is the firm, rigid structure that gives rigidity to your freedom. Freedom without discipline turns into chaos. And here's the problem. We often perceive boundaries as limits, restrictions. But in truth, they're exactly what protect our freedom. Discipline is not freedom's enemy. It is its greatest ally. It reminds us that just because we can doesn't always mean we should. So when an open path comes before you, don't just ask, can I? Because chances are you probably can. Aim to ask, should I? And that alone will give you more clarity. And at the summit of it all stands purpose. Freedom finds its true worth when it's used to uplift, not just to satisfy oneself. The freedom to speak is powerful, but when it's used to inspire, it's transformative. Learning independently, it's a gift, but when it's used to share knowledge, it multiplies its value. When freedom is used for a purpose greater than oneself, it separates existence from significance. So, the next time you hold a key, remember that you're holding onto something that is both simple and profound. Liberty is never light. It clinks, it weighs, and it presses against your pocket. And that's all right. Perhaps that's exactly how it's supposed to be. Because if freedom felt weightless, you might forget its value. If freedom felt weightless, you might take it for granted. Even if it feels heavy sometimes, that's okay. Because that means that you're trusted with something worth carrying. Just aim to carry it with awareness, discipline, and purpose. And maybe, just maybe, the true beauty of freedom isn't in how light it feels, but in how deeply it shapes the person who dares to carry it well. Thank you.